Hello there, I am Tabitha Brown, and this is my amazing husband.
I'm Chance Brown.
Welcome to Couch Confessions. Wait, Couch Confessions, Jesus? Welcome to Couch Conversations. We might get a confession here today because my spirit didn't say something. I'm just playing. Anywho, so I have some amazing guests here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Clint Lewis.
I'm DeAnna Lewis, and we have been married this December. It'll be 24 years, and we've been together 26.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of time for y'all to maybe get to know each other. I don't know. But
I kind of figured him out a little bit.
just a little bit.
Pretty easy.
Now, what is something over the years that you found that you really like about marriage?
I like the stability of it. I'm pretty busy at the office and work, so I like coming home to the same person every night.
That changes her hair every few months,
Yes,
though.
that gives me a different look.
Yeah.
Gives me a different look.
Yeah.
You know, throws it
Keep it
in the mix.
spicy.
Yes.
Got you.
I like that you said stability. I think I'm just a big, huge family person. And I just been surrounded by great, Black marriages all my life. So I just think I just love to celebrate it. And then if you hang around us, I'm like trying to convince you, you should really get married.
Okay.
For what it's worth. And we have actually had some success with that.
I have to put a shout out to my parents. They'll be 60 years this January coming
Yeah.
up.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah, so you had some role models.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To look at it and see
Yes.
it. Well, very good. Well, nice to meet you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you.
All right, so come on in the room and tell us who you are. Tell us a little something about you and things.
I'm Antoinette.
All right.
And my name's Joshua. And my favorite thing about marriage is not being married. And reason being, we invest in real estate. And my mother's actually one of our biggest private money lenders. And in order for her to be able to do that, we have to maintain that separation. So put everybody on out there in the world.
Wait, break it down
That's
for
his
me.
latest excuse.
Yeah.
He just ain't want to get married.
Like, wait a minute, Jesus. What did
I figured out like that she did that.
Getting real creative with it.
Yeah,
I was like, nah, I ain't never heard that before.
We've been together 7 years. We met, and in 30 days, we're living together, and it's been all she wrote. But we haven't thought about planning a wedding or doing any of that stuff yet.
Okay, well, that's your business, okay? Very good. We're going to unpack it, though, okay? We're going to get into it and things. So that kind of leads us to our question of the day. Is marriage necessary, right? Now, you all, y'all veterans, kind of like us. We've been together 23 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we have been married for 18. And early on, we were together very young. So I was in the moment of, I grew up with both my parents, all my family, a lot of my grandparents, everybody was married. And he grew up with, nobody really was married in his family. I wanted to be married because that's what I saw, that's what I knew. And, but he thought it was just a piece of paper, right, babe?
Yeah. It wasn't until I realized what marriage was and what the definition meant to me that I wanted to get married. I'm gonna answer that question though, in terms of if it's necessary. I think it depends on the individual. I really do. I think marriage is a good thing, but being a good thing don't necessarily make it the right thing for everybody. And if you and your companion are on the same page in regards to that, then don't get married, And if if you both want to be married, then be married. But I think it's a good thing. I definitely do. And when my eyes were open to it, it meant something to me more so in the lines of legacy and investment in a different kind of way.
Like the real estate.
in investment into, of course, my wife and an investment into my kids and the generations that are going to come behind me and what the Brown name, what I wanted it to stand for. And I remember hearing the pastor talk about a Fortune 500 company and, the investment into it. And also my father-in-law in terms of an ATM. And, if you don't put nothing into it, it ain't gonna give you nothing back.
Absolutely.
And if you treat your relationship like a mom and pop, it will be a mom and pop. But if you treat it like a Fortune 500, and that's what I heard, I want Fortune 500 to be
Absolutely.
over the Brown family.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's why marriage was definitely necessary for me. However, I got some friends that, them brothers, they don't need to be nowhere near married. You know what I'm saying? They can be their own Fortune 500. It don't mean that, however, and I'm not judging them. You know what I mean? It's just that come to me and they ask me, hey man, you think I should be married, as a friend and as a person who respects marriage and what it means to me. I'm not going to encourage the wrong person to invest into something that I believe in. So that's just my take on it.
Yes, well, very good. And that, we grew into that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I got to a place early on in our relationship when, after we were together for 5 years before we got married, but I got to a place where I was like, it don't matter if we get married. As long as we're together, I'm cool. I convinced myself of that. So in the moment I said I ain't care no more, he was like, no, wait a minute. Oh, you don't want to marry me?
But see, like in what you were saying, Tabitha, I think I sometimes wonder, do we compromise? Does that little girl or that young adult woman or that older woman just kind of say, you know what, he doesn't want to, so I'm just gonna be okay with not wanting to? Mm-hmm. Or is it really, because I have some friends that are like, they're good. They have no desire, to get married. But I'm like, do you really not want to get married, or have you just kind of said it hasn't happened for me?
I mean, that was my situation. So before I met him, like, I had a plan. I wanted to be married. I was going to be married by 25, start having kids by 27. There was a schedule.
Right.
And then I was 29, and I hadn't had a boyfriend. I was single for, like, a long time. And I made the choice for myself to just be happy with where I was at and decide that I was going to be happy whether I had a relationship, whether or not I had kids, because I was, like, spending so much time and energy trying to find a relationship so I can live out this, fantasy I've been planning forever, and it wasn't happening. So I let it go for myself because I wanted to be happy regardless of what happened, whether I ended up in a relationship, got married, had kids or not.
Right.
And it just so happened that maybe a year or so after just being like, screw it, that we actually met.
Yeah.
So
that's how it happens, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we release the thing, we're like, you know what? When people be trying to have kids for years and then they say, let's just stop trying. And all of a sudden they get pregnant, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes when we just let it go and let things happen naturally, they happen, right? So then here he comes talking about, hey, how you doing? But I don't know how it went down, but it happens.
I got a real estate investment.
Right. Right. So, but to what you're saying, I think that everyone's journey is different, right? You have some women who never, ever experienced that. Yeah. So they may truly not have a desire because they don't understand it. They've never seen it on a personal level. Like, he didn't have a real desire because he was never surrounded by it.
Yeah.
I did because I was surrounded by it, right?
Yeah.
Then some people were surrounded by it and it wasn't good.
And then they're like,
I don't even want no parts of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But for the question of the day, do you think marriage is necessary for you? Do you feel it's necessary?
It's necessary for me. I have, upbringing in the church in the background, so I was taught strong marriages, strong families build strong churches, and strong communities, and then we, ministry, and we go from there. Coming from my parents, as I said, 60 years, coming up in another few months, it wasn't something that I really thought about. It just was, okay, want to get married, want to have kids, I want to, have that family and stability, kind of, I guess, subliminally, like my parents.
Yeah.
That's just what I knew. My father is around, he's a great man, patient, kind of probably take on a lot of his attributes.
Yeah. You are your father's child.
Just lay back, you know. And, I probably, married a woman that's real like my mom, that's kind of outgoing and outspoken. And so I think it kind of works. So for our family, our relationship, I just think that marriage is necessary for me. I'm a divorcee. So she's my second, second and last,
That's
the
right.
best.
You better say that part loud for all the people in the back.
So, I've been married longer than I've been single, just all together, almost 30 years combined. Yeah. So it's just something that I love, being able to have that home that you can just have somebody excited to have you come home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. We have,
Well, the thing is, you look for the stability of it. And I know my mom had 4 marriages.
we called her
right?
Elizabeth Taylor.
And she told me, like, at the end, and she was like, I'm just the marrying type. Like, I'm gonna do marriage, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep doing it until I get it right, But then we would hear, but see, where we are closely connected in marriage, we're also closely connected in business because we're business partners. Sometime, I remember having the conversation when we were getting ready to open our first business, and he's like, D, everything is business. Everything is business. I said, don't you ever fix your lips to say that our marriage is business. Okay. Fix your lips, right? He's like, no matter what we do, what we purchase, anything that we do, he sees it as a business, right? Opportunity. And I'm like, but you can't see marriage
That's
as
why
that.
I like the Fortune 500. See,
he tapped right into what Chance was talking about.
But I just made that the marriage, like you said, was going to be that business, the business of love. So that way, all the energy I put into being successful as an entrepreneur, as a business person, I put the same energy into the marriage.
Yeah.
Like
so
that.
then when it was time to open up, our first restaurant, we were like, oh, let's go all in. And people were like telling us, don't you dare, you're gonna destroy your marriage working together. And I'm like, but we good, we cool. Like, how hard can it be to
like
be in
each other.
business
Right.
when we get along in marriage? How could it be going into business bad together, right? And here we are, 9, restaurants later, and
Come on
and
now.
20, 4 years of marriage, and we still get along. Like, we still work together. My office that's inside of his office is just in a corner.
Okay.
You have a little cubicle in the corner.
We're gonna talk about the upgrade.
Okay.
But
Give you upgrade.
But is your closet bigger at home?
well, yeah,
All
amen.
right, that's all that is. You let him have that office.
You see that help me work through that?
Let him have that office.
See what I was saying?
Takes a village. See, I love it.
Village,
Thank you.
even in marriage,
Yes, absolutely.
So
Very
I
good.
totally think that it's very important. I just feel, but it doesn't work for everybody. Like Chance says, we know people that have been divorced, have been through horrible relationships and marriage. But anytime you start talking about doing business, purchasing property, or just doing any type of investments together, and then you don't want to invest in marriage, that's where I'm just like, okay, so what's really going on? And it's still a choice.
Right.
Everybody
It's
has
definitely
their
a choice.
It's definitely their choice, but
Very
I'm team, hashtag get married.
If it's intentional avoidance, more so of, do it matter?
Yeah.
For me, because I had to put that to bed, and it was like, I focused on the key things. I wanted a committed partner, somebody I could be friends with, somebody I could grow with. We're business partners as well. And so we have all the core things. I am not intentionally avoiding marriage. Like, I was raised in church. It was always my plan to get married. Now, I can't say I had good examples of marriages, but I wasn't averse to it. But when we met, I was 28 and he was 21. So it's a little different, right? Like,
Lot different.
there was gonna be time before he got to that point. So I'm not opposed, but I also don't know that I care about it anymore. I think I've planned my wedding, made a little note on my iPhone to the T, the whole treatment is written. And that was enough for me to have gotten that off my chest. Like, okay, I done got married. I walked through this thing in my mind.
Hey, you said something.
Love it.
You said something that I feel a need to go back to. I wasn't raised in the church, right? So that was my dilemma. It was an issue for me because I associated marriage with church folk, right? And I wasn't raised in the church. That wasn't for me. Is what I'm getting at. Is what I was thinking. Once I disassociated marriage, or I was able to see marriage outside of the church, and that's what I meant earlier about the definition. Once I was able to dissociate it from the church, and because the church kind of threatened me. I felt threatened in any times, because I wasn't raised in the church. And that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So when you said it, it was like, you need to get married, boy, come to church. That's what I heard. And I was like, nah, man.
Yeah.
Nah, that ain't. But then once I found something that I said, now I'm not gonna lie. Now I did, when I heard something that struck me, I was in the church, right? That got to me. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I want. I'm sitting there listening to this man, and I'm like, yeah, I love her like that. That's what I want. And you telling me this ain't got nothing to do with, well, it has something to do with the church, obviously, but there's a pride thing and a thing that I feel that she's deserving of. And then I'm watching her. She was raised in the church, wanted to get married. And her commitment to me to go against all of this in this environment, it hit here, it hit me in my chest hard to be like, what kind of man are you, man? Like, you don't want to leave nothing? How selfish are you? You don't want to build on anything because you're saying you've never seen it done or you've never seen it done successfully. So once I was able to disassociate the church with marriage, and that thing just hit me in my chest and say, bro, there's more to this than just the church.
Right. Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable and be about something that's gonna live beyond your little selfish life.
Be the pioneer, be the first.
Be the first.
Be the first.
Right? If you wanna, how long you gonna ride on the excuse that I've never seen it done? I don't know any good men. That was my thing, right? I'd be like, I don't know no good men. I see them all out in the street. Right?
So would you both say that it's not possible to have like those key tenets, the commitment, the partnership, the building, the legacy, without going through the legality of getting married?
I will say this. I don't think you need to be married in order to have that, what I'm talking about, right? But because when I heard it and I knew what she had grew up around and what it meant to her, and for her to just be like, nah, I'm cool. It was something in me, and then too, when it was defined differently, I wanted to do it now. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's what it was. It was a necessity then for me. And like she said, I was offended at the fact that now you don't.
I was over it. I was like, well, all right,
Like, what are you talking
but
about?
I do feel that it plays a role in how you build.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the legal matters of even doing like, insurance and trust and, accounts and business or whatever, you feel more, to me, I feel like I'm gonna work a little bit harder because this is my husband versus this is just a business, honey. At any time we can go out of business, right? Between each other. But it's a lot of other things that go into play when it's like, this is my husband, not just a partner, right?
Try to work
He is my
through it.
partner, right? You're gonna give a little bit more effort to try to make it work.
I think also,
yeah.
Relationships and marriage, really change when you involve kids.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
You have
absolutely.
kids. That's what makes the difference. I don't really even put too much credence on the early stages of marriage without the kids, because the dynamic totally changes.
Yes.
Because what happens is a lot of times, even when the kids are grown and you have that empty nest syndrome and you guys didn't know each other, didn't like each other, and didn't have those conversations.
Yeah, now you're by yourself.
Now you're like,
I'm out.
am I here?
Right.
I'm out. So
Yeah.
it becomes more like the business. But if you have that relationship, in anything and that communication, then I think it can work. But, it's kind of tough when you have the legality of it, the society of it, like you said, the insurance, the trust, business agreements, things like that. And you have to kind of mark on that box that you're not, and you're, a joint owner as opposed to, a husband or a spouse. I think it just makes everything, when you're trying to build that Fortune 500 company, a little bit more difficult. Not impossible.
Right, it's not
But
impossible.
not impossible.
Right, it's not impossible. I don't want
But
you to
just a
get
little
that.
bit more difficult.
Yeah.
I just want to go on record saying it's not optional. We may not be married, but you ain't going nowhere.
That's why you got the thread in. The thread is real.
Right. But that is one of the things that I think about, like when I have friends who are still single, right, or they're in relationships, and I always tell them, don't get married until you're ready, because when you're not married, you can easily leave.
Yeah.
You can easily go,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, your heart might hurt a little bit, but you ain't got to worry about all the other things. Because once you get married, now you
gotta
can't
sit
just
and work through
leave.
some stuff.
We're gonna have to
You
sit down.
can't just leave.
So, but it can work. Your relationship, however you build your foundation, is how you build your foundation. Like I said, that's your business, and it's what you want. You never want to force yourself into something you truly don't want, because then it's never gonna prosper.
Right.
No.
Right. But if it's
My understanding thus far, everyone's conclusion is to each his own, right?
To each his own.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the core of being in a relationship and maintaining a healthy relationship is communication. And I want to know what you guys' experiences are with building that bridge that solidifies the relationship that you have, because that's what matters most, as opposed to the classification of your relationship.
Right. Communication is key, what you just said. But the communication that is first and foremost is how you communicate with yourself, right? I come first, right? He got to come first for him. I got to come first for me. Because then if I'm not right within, I can't communicate.
Absolutely.
You know? And so it just benefits everyone if we first know who we are. Because that's the thing about a relationship, we are forever changing, right? We're forever changing.
And how do you work to stay connected throughout that change?
You have to be vocal about it, right? You have to also be honest with yourself when you don't feel the same. When you know you're shifting in a change. You're like, oh, wait a minute, and I don't feel the same way I used to feel. I have a different thought about this now, whatever that thing may be. And you have to be vocal and open and honest about it. You know, but it does happen. We are going to forever change. It's inevitable. Every person.
inevitable.
And that's the part of the conversation I think we miss. Like, talking about the institution of marriage is great, but let's get past that. The more worthy conversation is figuring out how you love yourself before you can love your partner.
I remember even having conversations when we didn't know how to put the words together. Do you still have the letters? I kind of would write you letters, and then he wrote me a letter. Getting each other all the way together, right? Okay. On paper. But what it did is that it made me sit back and read through what he's going through and how he's seeing it. And I had to say, okay, because I can't say, no, that's not what I meant, because I got to look at it. So you figure out how to effectively communicate with each other, you know. I want to say I have the letter somewhere just in case. I'd be like, remember when you said this?
Right.
You know,
Let me get this evidence.
Well, you said we're always evolving.
We're always
my
evolving.
thought might not be the same.
Yeah.
That's when I wrote that letter.
That's right. That's right. I done grew since then. You know, you posed a great question as far as, you know, the internal parts of the relationship. But like in marriage, right, there's certain things that we do as a married couple that you all seem to be doing and you're not married. So how does that work for you, and how do you feel about that?
I feel like, you know, you have to make the active decision each day to choose your partner. And that security blanket that you said, of that difficulty that's there with separating because of being married, that's not something that is afforded to me personally. So I feel like it takes more courage to remain committed to someone in the face of that uncertainty. And so it just forces you to
Trust more.
Yeah.
Communicate more.
Yeah.
So like all the hard stuff in a marriage, we have to actively work harder at that, because there is no safety blanket. Technically, you think he could leave if he wanted to, right? But you work harder at. There's a higher level of trust, a higher level of intimacy, communication, just all of those things, because there isn't the easy safety blanket of you married, you can't just walk. Either one of us can. And in walking, either one of us could be in a better or worse situation with the way the business is split. So we work harder at it. And to me, I feel like that makes what we have uniquely stronger than marriages that some of them are only being held together by a piece of paper.
I get that.
Because I know that she's choosing me every day in the face of what her friends or whomever is telling her, oh, you're not married, and he has access to what, and what if he just runs off with all your money, girl, and leaves you in the dust? Like, I know that she knows me and wants to continue to be with me, the person that I am.
And the running off with the money, you know, that's happened in marriages.
Now listen, I'm about to say, honey,
Now
you
that's
can be married and you still wake up and they be gone.
Doesn't preclude from that.
Listen, they actually have more access, honey.
Yeah.
When you married.
We know some folks that that's happened to. Yeah.
But with the business, so I know they said they're in business, so you all are in business together as well. How does that work for you all?
Well, I started the business, and now he's kind of coming in as the COO and like taking over it so I can go on to find something else to build. Initially, he wasn't interested, so it was just me, and then he started to become interested, and now I feel like what he brings to the table, the way he sees things, the aggressiveness that he has, he'll be the difference maker to take us to that next level. So I'm happy to have him kind of come into that, so that I can go on and explore a new shiny thing. So it's been good.
Okay.
Yeah, and that took some growth. It took unfortunate set of circumstances. I don't know if you guys are familiar with COVID-19 and that there's a global pandemic or anything.
No, what is that? I've never heard of it.
I hadn't heard about that.
Right.
The disruption that phenomena brought to the globe and our lives really solidified my belief in the path that Antoinette has set us on. Like, she'd always been one to, write her list, check it twice, and get it. Whether it was, meeting Chris Brown for her birthday, or having a conversation with Will Smith, or all these different things, and she would set it out each year and get it. It would happen.
Yeah.
And so with the way real estate rebounded, she lost her job, six-figure income. I referee basketball. Our seasons got canceled, so everything dried up. And the way real estate returned in the face of that adversity, it just proved that, the identity that I built for myself within all the other endeavors that I had, I could deliver the life that I wanted for my family and for myself through really leaning in a lot further to our business and what we were doing together. And so not being married and not being, financially intertwined in that way, it only heightened the belief that I had, because it's like, man, we really just went through it and came out on top together.
Yes. I have one question before we wrap it up, because you said that you did have a desire at one time to be married, right? Have you ever had the desire?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Because to me, marriage is like a big party, and I hate parties. I'm an introvert.
Oh,
and so I just,
okay.
But then I do think,
Are you referring to the wedding or the marriage?
Right, I'm like, is it the
wedding.
ceremony?
we're actually already domestic partners, so I just signed on the line.
You ain't gotta have no wedding. You don't
know.
have to have no wedding now.
But the story she would tell me about, wanting what she wants and growing up in the church and all, I want to be able to provide that for her. So it is something that is in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Well,
He doesn't want the party, but he said if I showed up with a marriage certificate, he would sign it.
Yeah, it's not an aversion that I have or anything
Right.
like that.
So your issue is with the ceremony, with what
you don't have to have
The
that.
celebration.
Because let me
Yeah,
tell you,
with the
that ain't nothing but
celebration.
one day. And it don't mean
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
The wedding don't mean nothing, but
And
just
I
that.
guess I can be a little vulnerable, right, in regards to the ceremony. So I got pregnant before we got married, and he had already been married before. So he's like, D, you can do whatever. I'm not going to take that day away from you. You can go ahead. And we both grew up in the church, so we had to face all that, right? But I had to decide that my relationship with God is independent, and my relationship is not with everybody at the church. It's with God, right? So he had to walk me through all that. So I had to go through that. I know what it is to go through the embarrassment of it all. I did all that, right? So when it's time for a wedding, I'm like, the secret is out. I'm pregnant. So now what? You know what I mean? So now I don't need to have the wedding, although in my mind, like you, I've been writing it down since I was a little girl. The colors, I was engaged before. He likes to say left at the altar. I kind of take that a little offensively. It was called off, let's just say that. But I had bridesmaids' dresses already picked out, right? They had already been fitted. I had cakes. I did the whole thing. So when I got pregnant, I was kind of just done with relationships. And I just kind of got a little selfish and said, it is what it is. Okay, I'm about to have a baby. I can just love this little beautiful human being, for the rest of my life, with or without you. You get to decide how active of a father you want to be. I was pretty much stable as far as a career. So he said, you could have the wedding. I said, I'm good. Let's just go in the office. So we literally went in the office, just a random day, went into my pastor's office and got married. And the people that were kind of pressuring and in our ear and, oh, you got that girl pregnant and y'all ain't married. A lot of them are not even together.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
And I took that
have
money
people in your business, okay?
and went on and got me some new floors and some curtains and that's
Okay, a whole house, all right?
So it's how you see it, but I still feel that marriage is just so important. I feel that it's so necessary. It just kind of was like the cherry on top, it just sealed it for me. It locked it in for me. But yeah, I get it. Not every marriage in church is
right. Don't get caught up in that. But
there's still a disconnect for me a little bit. And maybe I've become more rebellious than him. where I just don't care no more. I got so good at
That's
just
all
being like,
right.
screw it. I'm just like, oh, when we get money to waste, sure, or something, but it doesn't matter anymore because I feel like we've made that commitment. Like the same commitment married couples have made, we've made that and we choose it every day without the safety net.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Very good. Well, listen, thank you both. I appreciate y'all for being so open and being honest and sharing your stories, and keep loving each other. That is what the root of everything,
Absolutely.
every relationship is
Absolutely.
love. So as long as you love each other, you see each other, you love each other, you see each other, we hear each other, honey, we doing something right for us, right? So
Absolutely.
thank you all so very kindly. I
Yes.
wish you blessings
Yes.
and more blessings and love
you.
forever and ever. So thank you so very kindly. Got anything before we go back?
Nope, I think we said it all.
Very good. So thank y'all again.
Appreciate
Thank
it. Absolutely. Thank you.